No, men are not that shallow. Seriously?
Yeah. What do you say? What do you know? Welcome back. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us one more time. I'm Pastor Dave with my partner in crime, Randall the Armor Bearer. We are
They That Believe.
Thanks for visiting us on Facebook.com/They That Believe. I became aware, I was listening to some of our previous pods. I'm like, I haven't even mentioned that in a while. Folks don't know where to find us. Facebook.com/They That Believe. We appreciate the likes and the visits and the shares. And most importantly, I appreciate you telling a friend. Thank you for letting somebody else know what we're doing. It appears, sir, that the dog days of summer perhaps are behind us.
Yes.
It's been for like a couple of weeks. It's been like 80 in the day, 60 at night, and we had a mild summer, don't you think? I mean, we didn't have very many of those 100-degree days.
Yeah, it was really good this summer. I'm worried that's going to affect the winter, like we're going to have a super bad winter.
Well, that was my next question for you is, are you one of those, the mild summer means a harsh winter, or does a mild summer mean a mild winter?
You know, I go by the caterpillars outside. When they start getting brown quick, then you know it's going to get cold.
When the caterpillars get brown quick, you may have to explain that a little bit.
Well, there's these little caterpillars, the little wiggly guys that go across the porch at my house, and I've noticed the past couple of years that if they get brown quick, then it gets colder quicker. So that's my Farmer's Almanac story of the day. The brown caterpillars mean cold weather.
And that's just based on your observation, though. That's not there's no hard science there.
No,
right? You didn't Wikipedia about the brown caterpillars?
No, I didn't. No, I probably should have.
And the good thing is, too, that, well, I had seen, it's been a couple of weeks ago back when we were still having the quote-unquote dog days of summer, but you get the heat reports. When you're watching your TV show and they're teasing the news, if you're in prime time and they're teasing the news coming up later on, and the weatherman pops in for just a second, right? And he's like, it's going to be hot, really hot for the next 4 or 5 days. We'll have the details at 10. And I told Gretchen, I was like, I'm pretty well good. Yeah, it's going to be really hot for the next 4 or 5 days. I'm okay, Tom. I really don't need, any more detail.
Do you think we really need the up to the second? Is this temperature outside right now? It's going to rain at 3:00 this afternoon. I don't think we need any of that. Do you?
Yes and no. I agree with you. I mean, I'm of like mind. Like I said, when he said it's going to be hot for the next 4 or 5 days, that was all the detail that I needed. Mm-hmm. However, having spent a lot of time in radio, there are several things that I learned and was taught and came to understand. That's what people look for. If somebody turns on the radio and they're listening to you within, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so, you're going to tell them. Weather is one of those things. There are several things like that, the time and the weather, and that's what folks are always listening for. And it just seemed like, man, when I was in the radio business, everything was you just had the weather update open constantly on the computer. And two, now that the dog days of summer are behind us and now that the weather's turned milder, we don't get the stupid news reports about the weather, like not the weather report, but like a whole separate news feature on how hot it is. That is, it's just like so lazy. I'm really not a big fan of the state of journalism, or what it's become, but you get the lazy news story about the experts say to beat the heat, and it's like, what? Really?
Stay inside in the air conditioner.
Exactly. One of the first things, what's the stuff they always tell you to do? It's the same thing all the time. Don't go out, stay out of the sun. Okay. I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, wow. That gaseous ball of fire in the sky.
You don't say that if I get out in the sun, it's going to be hot.
I never thought of that. I'll stay inside. And then the other one is always drink plenty of what? Fluids.
And they always have to put the not alcohol at the end of it.
Yeah, drink plenty of fluids. Well, thank you. There for a minute I was wondering why I had diced up that kitchen sponge and couldn't figure out why I would drink plenty of fluids. Oh my God. Seriously? And it's like, when the school year starts up and they go to the local store and, here are moms doing back to school shopping. What are you buying for your kids this year? Like the pencils.
The same stuff we bought 30 years ago.
Oh, it's so lazy.
Pencils and folders.
The state of journalism is so bad in our country right now. So bad. All right. Well, moving on to something else. Thank goodness we've got nice days ahead of us. I want to examine some dates that are coming up on the calendar. We've got some very significant happenings coming up here shortly. And I kind of want to work outside and come back. I want to go a little farther out on the calendar, and then we'll work our way back to a little more recent news and things that are coming up, maybe even this coming week. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention or tell folks we're a little bit behind, a week or so. We've been kind of doing these, I guess, about every 2 weeks. Randall wasn't feeling well. Are you? I don't want to violate any HIPAA laws, but you look well, and you seem to be back to yourself. Are you feeling better now?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing as best as I can, so...
Enough to sit down and talk.
Enough right? To sit down and talk, yes.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start out, let's start out beginning on October 6th of this year. By decree of Mayor McCheese, McDonald's will now serve all-day breakfast.
Oh, my gosh.
Have you heard of this?
I haven't,
you didn't
but that's
know?
Awesome, yeah.
That's awesome. It's so great when you can be the one to break the news. Mayor McCheese has decreed now, according to the press release from McDonald's for the company, beginning October 6th, they're going to offer all-day breakfast. This is what the press release says. It's time for breakfast on your terms. Was this a problem? You weren't getting breakfast on your terms?
I wasn't getting breakfast on my terms.
Well, no, because folks were coming in at 10:31, couldn't get a McGriddle or a McMuffin, and we're ready to burn the place down.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone in there at like 10:32 and want breakfast, and then they don't have it?
No, I go in at 10:20 and I order like 65 Egg McMuffins, and then I go out in the drive-thru and sell them. No, I'm totally kidding. No, I don't think I've ever really done that. I've never been there right on the bubble.
I remember when I was a kid, my dad took me out there one time for pancakes, and we were like 5 minutes after cutoff, and he's like, well, we'll get you a Happy Meal, but you're a kid, you want pancakes, and you're set on pancakes.
I think I've experienced it the other way. Like Nathan always wanted cheeseburgers, no matter what time it is. And we would experience the opposite problem. We'd go 9 or 10 and he wants a cheeseburger. And I'm like, I tried to explain they're not serving those right now. They're like, well, what can't they? The same questions anybody else would ask. Yeah. It's the same equipment. It's the same stuff. Why can't you make a cheeseburger?
Don't you have a cheeseburger out on the sign right there?
Exactly. Who would thought that sometimes going to a fast food place and asking for a cheeseburger is pull up, we'll bring it to you in a minute. It's like, what the world, man? All right, so it's time for breakfast on your terms. 10:30 a.m. no longer will be the end of breakfast. Lunch, snack, dinner, late night. That's that fourth meal. Mm-hmm. We can thank Taco Bell for that.
Yeah.
Taco Bell has given us that fourth meal. So lunch, snack, dinner, late night.
They've given us the okay to eat after dark.
Yeah, it's time for hotcakes at whenever o'clock. Whenever o'clock.
Whenever o'clock.
That's what it says.
That sounds like some Mad Men stuff there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Don Draper thought that up. I got it. Whenever o'clock. Oh, that's brilliant, Don. The new limited menu will allow customers to enjoy a breakfast sandwich paired with an order of world-famous fries after 10:30. Interesting. You can get a breakfast. You can get your Egg McMuffin and some fries. All right, man.
But I wonder if you could get a cheeseburger before 10:30.
You know what? Let's go a little further. I haven't even thought of that question. Why all-day breakfast? Public demand. Very simple. Mm-hmm. McDonald's says it's the number one request that they hear from customers. The number one request. Now, this is a press release from the company. I've got to wonder if that's the number one. It probably is the number one request. I doubt it's the number one complaint.
Yeah. But, what is in your secret sauce? I want to know.
Just get the order right. You sell burgers and fries.
Yeah.
120,000 people tweeted McDonald's asking for breakfast throughout the day in the past year alone. That's according to their press release.
Oh, that was that tweet thing. Did you see that? Where they put a thing up where you could tweet them a question and they'd answer it.
Oh.
So that must have been part of it.
Oh, no, I'm not. I have a Twitter account. I've had we may have discussed this earlier, and I've had it for years, but I don't really use it. I'm not sure that I get what I'm supposed to do or how to use Twitter.
I don't understand either.
It's difficult for me when I get on there and I don't even have like a lot of people that I quote unquote follow, but I don't understand my feed. the Facebook layout is a little more linear and sort of makes sense, but I don't get the Twitter feed. I hear people go, well, somebody followed me and I tweeted and they retweeted, and I don't see how they're seeing all this. But anyway, Twitter's, I guess, a conversation for another day, but I haven't. I've never quite figured out what to do with it. Well, man, there's some fine print. There's a catch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I hate to disappoint everybody. There's a problem. McDonald's won't actually be offering its breakfast menu all day long.
Oh.
Despite what I just told you. So what's the catch? The key to what McDonald's is actually doing comes in a word buried in that press release. You may not have caught it the first time. Limited.
Limited. Oh.
Limited. Unlike some competitors like Sonic and White Castle, they figured out serving breakfast all day long. Yeah. McDonald's will be making only some of their morning items available.
Sausage biscuits.
Because of limitations in the chain's equipment all day. What are limitations in the equipment? They're not limited when they make breakfast in the morning. They're not limited when they're making...
It's a grill and a deep fryer. How could that be limited?
Because of limitations in the chain's equipment, All Day Breakfast will offer one popular set of sandwiches or another. I almost get the impression maybe like a day-to-day thing. Depending on the local market, All Day Breakfast will have a limited menu that focuses on either McMuffin or biscuit items, says the release. Now, I love the McMuffins. I don't like the biscuits.
I always wonder how they do the biscuits, how they make them. I don't remember. I worked at McDonald's for like a week when I was a kid, but I don't remember seeing an oven in there or anything.
I don't know. The decision is made at the local level based on customer preference. So whatever we would see, around our area, again, it remains to be seen. It'll be
Squirrel biscuits.
Squirrel biscuits?
Our area.
Well, not that. I think just what they offer. But in reality, All Day Breakfast is a very limited subset of the company's full breakfast menu. There's no McGriddle. So apparently they won't be doing McGriddle. McGriddle, nor is there anything. Now, tell me that this makes any sense at all. Nor is there anything involving bacon. Now, they serve bacon on cheeseburgers all day, so they're making bacon.
Yeah.
I don't get that. It appears on the lunch menu and the dinner menu anyway, but the all-day breakfast will not include items with bacon. I don't get that.
Maybe it's a kosher thing.
The big breakfast with the hot cakes and the eggs and the whole thing, the big breakfast, it's missing a number of other items. They're calling this, they're cutting the big breakfast short a little bit, and they're calling it the all-day breakfast. And it is, but it's a very limited subset of the full breakfast menu. And
it's the semi-large but not big breakfast.
Well, here's what I think they're going to run into. And folks all they've heard is October 6th and full all-day breakfast, and they're going to show up and they're going to start asking for these things. And I think this thing is going to they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. Yeah, because folks are going to start complaining, well, we've been waiting on all day breakfast all of our lives. And now, no. And it reminds me when Gretchen spent a while working for Dollar General and management and stuff. And they'd have customers come in all the time and get mad and act ugly and stuff over, they'd go and it's 2 for $1 or green dot or red dot, but and they'd bring stuff to the counter and then they'd have to explain to them, no, it's just this item, only on Thursday, but this is the 2 for $1 up until, 9 a.m. and just on and on. There's always some kind of fine print or twist or some sort of puzzle that you have to solve, math you have to do. And I mean, there's no excuse for mistreating, employees and being ugly to people. But at the same time, I would tell her, I'm like, I kind of get it, because you come in there, you see the sign and it says something, and then you only to get all this up here and be told, no, it's this and it's that. And you're making your customers jump through all these hoops for no good reason that I can see.
The people that put the sales on don't ever have to actually deal with the customers that are involved in it, probably.
That's true. But I don't understand why complicate it with, just make it 2 for $1, 25% off. Make it simple. And not, if you have this and if you have that and only
I think the purpose is to kind of confuse you a little bit so you buy full price items that you wouldn't need anyway.
The old bait and switch.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But all that really causes is people abusing employees and then throwing the stuff down and leaving. To make room for their new limited all-day breakfast menu, McDonald's also plans to trim down their lunch and dinner offerings. See, so about the time you get excited going, all right, we're getting all-day breakfast, we're losing ground. We're losing on the lunch and dinner menu.
Why can't they do McRib all year? I always wondered that.
I probably wouldn't sell as well.
You think so?
Yeah. I think part of the appeal, part of the magic around the McRib is the whole thing. Oh, McRib is back, right? You know, that it's a special thing when it comes around, like the ice cream truck. You know, when you hear it, you know, you never know when it's coming back. Oh, here the ice cream truck.
Didn't the Simpsons have it made out of some sort of like endangered species or something?
Oh, I don't know. We probably don't want to know what's really in it.
Yeah. I don't think it's a rib.
So though how they do it, how they trim their lunch and dinner menus, that'll also be examined regionally. So it's not a bad thing. Franchisees had been complaining about the chain's increasingly complex food selection. Okay, well, maybe this is not a bad thing then. Because if you look at the way they've been trying to expand the menu, and it's been getting worse and worse, and more complicated, and really all we really wanted all along was a decent cheeseburger and fries, you know. And so, okay, well, maybe that let's assume that'll be a good thing. McDonald's does deserve credit for listening to their customers. It also seem to be creating another sort of headache. This is what I said, by promoting the offering as all-day breakfast. They're going to have people that are not doing the research like we're doing and working this out.
You think they care, though? I mean, really? It's McDonald's.
I think they've been, I mean, I don't think they're necessarily at this point in time in danger of going under, but I mean, I think they've had a difficult time the past few years.
Well, since that movie came out. But I mean, like even with me, I've got kids and you can't pass a McDonald's, even if you don't want to go to McDonald's with kids and not go to McDonald's.
Yeah, I just think they're going to get some grief. People have been misguided and they're going to come in there feeling like they've been misled. And who's going to take it? Who's going to take the brunt of it? The employees.
The 15-year-old chick at the cash register.
That are going to get abused. All right, well, that's coming up October 6th, so we'll see you guys around the breakfast table.
I'll be there at 10:31.
At McDonald's. Moving forward or backwards, coming back into September, we've got some cool things going on this weekend. I and the fam we are going to the Wizard World Con in Nashville, the comic book convention there, and going to do some other things while we're there. So hopefully when we come back, I'll have some exciting things to report, all the sights and sounds and all the cool costumes and stuff that we saw. And while we're there, though, I'm going to get to see some of my family who are all still in the Nashville area. I've not seen in a very long time. I think it's even been over a year, according to Gretchen's math. But my mom, who we've talked about in a previous installment, has agreed to do a kitchen table pod with me. And it really seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm now almost kind of starting to wonder if it was such a good idea after all. And I tell you why, because she said yes very quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, first of all, we had this whole conversation about what this is, you know, and the whole thing about it's a radio show that's not on the radio. You know, who gets that anyway? But once I kind of explained it, now you guys have to understand, my mother still has a Nokia brick phone. Yeah, we figured out a couple of years ago why she wasn't getting the pictures that I was sending her. She doesn't do internet. She doesn't. But now once I did explain this to her, she got the concept, and I was like, yeah, and we just sit and talk and tell stories. And I was like, if you would, she's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, okay. She said yes, really fast.
You're in
like,
for it.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun. So
that'll be for Baby Dave stories.
Going to be coming up this weekend. And there was I don't want to say too much and I don't want to give it away, because I told Mom where she could go find the pods and listen to them.
She asked you what station they were on?
Yeah, no. But I did have to say, now your friends can take you to the internet, and, you know, she works with some.
She think it was a place she had to drive to.
Well, first you take a left onto the ramp at the Information Superhighway.
Yeah. It's got a big welcome. Al Gore was born here.
Yeah, be careful. Don't take any wrong exits, though. You never know where you'll wind up. No, there is man, I want to be very careful because I don't want to give anything away. There's a celebrity who's going to be at the WizardCon in Nashville, who is very important in the story of my childhood and to my mother and I. And I'm debating on, it'll cost me a few extra bucks, not just a lot, but I'm debating on whether or not to get a little FaceTime with this particular celebrity. And I was like, I need to get a picture and show my mom and all that. So that's probably all I should say about that right now. I don't want to give that, because I'm afraid now our friends will pull it up. She's listening, and I don't want to, if I end up going that route, I want to surprise her. So, I'm going to tell you who it is, and then I'm going to edit it out. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, but y'all aren't going to get to hear.
I love him.
Look, you just gave it away.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Anyway. So, anyway, all you guys will hear is beeps. But
I've got his autographed picture, by the way.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm. Somewhere.
Real? Or is it like printed on there from like eBay?
Nope.
Okay. I once upon a time when Nathan was a little boy, and he was obsessed and loved Dog the Bounty Hunter, right? And I mean, he was real little. He was like 5, 6. I don't remember. He may not even been that old. And I got on eBay, and they're not real autographed pictures. They like stamp them to look autographed. I paid like $2 for it, and I got a one of these faux autographed pictures with Dog and Beth. And I bought it on eBay, and I got it when it was sent to the house, it was addressed to him. Right? So I was like, Nate, come here. You got a piece of mail. And he opened it up and had this picture from, he lost his mind. Oh, he lost his mind. And a year or so later, he lost that, and he cried. And what do you do? Because you don't want to tell him, dude, it was just a $2 fake picture. You know what I mean?
He's getting another one.
I didn't want to ruin the illusion, but at the same time, it just broke my heart. He was so upset about it. But
for a gag, one year I got my dad an autographed picture of Aunt Esther.
Yeah,
from Sanford and Son.
Yeah. Again, with a legitimate autograph.
Yeah,
why was that a gag? Because that was not something he was into, or
he loved Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be funny when you just get him an autographed picture of Aunt Esther. We all laugh. He's got it hanging up next to his chair.
Okay, well there you go. I guess it was a good gift after all. Well, I hate to ruin everything, but here's the problem with breakfast at McDonald's and the Wizard World Con and all that kind of stuff. We're not going to see any of it. We're not going to get to do any of it anyway. You know why?
Why?
The world's ending this week.
Oh, sweet.
You didn't know that?
No.
I don't know if it's actually ending, or I think it's going to begin
to end?
To end, that kind of thing. Apparently people have been talking about this for a while. I didn't know anything about it until maybe a week or two ago, and there's no one good reason, like Y2K. We knew why the world was supposed to end there, because the computers would all default because they couldn't roll over.
They would revolt.
There's always these specific reasons. Well, apparently with this whole September 23rd thing, everybody, all the conspiracists, the
whatever
internet nuts, all seem to be of one mind that something drastic is going to happen, but depending on which site you go to, it's all something different. So here's just some of the things that I've seen. The CERN super collider, the particle colliders it's gonna create a black hole that'll suck everything up. So you got the science, the fear of science, right?
I watched a whole documentary on that the other day. It was hilarious.
Yeah, and and I know somebody that's on that bandwagon. See, I'd heard about that before I'd heard about this whole September thing. And I'm like, man, these particle colliders they've been doing this for 50 years. I mean, this is the granddaddy of them, but we sat here and talked, not even a few weeks ago, about a teenage Michio Kaku doing this in his garage. God, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's junk science. You can go to any website that's going to tell you this is going to happen. But anyway, that's one. Some people pointed that. The others, this secret rapture thing, that the religious folk, and it's really tempting for me to go into this whole secret rapture business. I'm not going to do that today. I'll just leave that there. Asteroid. We got the extinction level event. Some say it's an asteroid. Financial collapse. Here's the other one. Some of your anti-government folks somehow think that this is going to be the day. And all these different things. September 23rd. What is that? What's today? Where are we
Today's the
at?
20th.
Oh, okay. So I better get this pod up fast.
My daughter's birthday is the 22nd, so we still get through that.
122. So Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday. Okay. Well, the world may be over before anybody. We should just stop right now.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Yeah. The financial collapse, this Jade Helm nonsense. Same kind of business with the Super Collider, this military exercise. They've been doing these for years. It's nothing new, but for some reason, the way we have the internet now, and so everybody thinks there's something sinister going on. It's the same routine military exercises that they've been doing for years and years.
Did you ever see the one where they're starting? It was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were having like drills in South Florida, and they called it Operation Ortsack. And Ortsack backward is Castro.
So no, they had they were doing similar or had the camps at Lake Pontchartrain down in Louisiana, where they were training these
the
I don't know what
Pigs
you'd call them, refugees or insurgents to go back into some solar eclipse business. And I saw like there's some YouTube conspiracy videos that trace this one back to Isaac Newton. Something about Isaac Newton made some predictions about solar eclipse, and it somehow that has something to do with it, which I don't know. A little bit of knowledge of Newton, and you pretty well can write that one off.
Yeah, as long as you're drinking apple juice while you watch it, you're okay.
Where'd that come from?
Newton and the apple.
Oh, okay. Went over my head, man.
Went over his too.
And then there's this whole lunar eclipse, blood moon kind of business. There's where you get a nice mix of the superstition and the pseudo-religious kind of mess. And this John Hagee, who's otherwise, I think, a good dude. I don't want to criticize another preacher, another pastor. I mean, he's definitely done much more, even if he's done some shady work, he's done much more good work than I've done. But some of his speculations, I think he participated in a book about these blood moons. And
Jerusalem Countdown. I read it. It's a pretty good book.
Interesting you say that, because there are a few places in the world where these blood moon eclipses are not even visible. Guess where one of those might be?
Where we live?
Jerusalem.
Oh, Jerusalem.
In Israel. They're not even visible in the Holy Land. Ridiculous. Writing for Earth and Sky, Bruce McClure and Deborah Bird point out that the referenced verse, this Bible verse, it says, the sun will be turned into darkness. Here's a problem with that. That's a solar eclipse.
And that happens pretty regular. I'm not regular, but it happens a lot.
Well, the idea that these blood moons they're lunar eclipses, and you pull a verse that says, well, the sun will be turned into darkness. That's a solar eclipse. It's a solar eclipse. They note that since the Jewish calendar is lunar, 1/6 of all eclipses will occur during Passover or Sukkot. That's a Jewish holiday. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Furthermore, there have been 62 of these tetrad eclipses since the 1st century, although only 8 of them have coincided with both of these feasts. Thus, the event is, sorry folks, it's not unusual. I know that's no fun, but additionally, 3 of the 4 eclipses in the tetrad will not even be visible in the biblical homeland of Israel. January of 2014, Mike Moore, the General Secretary of Christian Witness to Israel, wrote a lengthy article dismissing the claims of Blitz and Hagee, Moore's view that no significance can be drawn from the eclipses. Internet, man. Just internet.
Do you remember a couple of years ago on the New Year's, they were having all these mass animal die-outs? And everybody was like, it's the end of time. The animals are all dying. Well, it turned out that it was the fireworks that people were letting off on New Year's.
Was that when the birds were falling from the sky?
Yeah, and nobody had noticed the pattern before, but since they had the internet and everybody could see everything that was going on all over the world, they saw all these mass animal die-outs. But it was really just
land animals and stuff too, because I remember vaguely some stuff about dead birds falling.
Yeah, there was birds, and then it seems like there was some like fish washed up on the beach, and
yeah, I know the fish. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, the fish on the beach and stuff. And it had come back to fireworks.
So the birds came back to fireworks, but really it was just that everything's so global now and connected that all this stuff happened before. Birds die off and fish die off, but nobody could connect it before. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. So,
I see.
They were just drawing parallels where there wasn't any.
Without the way to observe it as we can in our internet, GPS, global satellite technology that we just previously didn't have I get it. We didn't have an explanation for it. We could only observe the effect, but not the cause.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Another reason not to shoot off fireworks. I guess. So, yeah, if everybody will forgive, I think I'm still going to go ahead and keep that day off work schedule so I can go to the Wizard Con.
There you go.
I don't think I'm going to not plan to go because the world's going to end.
You don't want to sell your house or anything, go out and...
No. You can see that's the thing, too. You don't see anybody doing that, do you?
No.
I'm like, well, come on now. You want to get into this, commit.
Yeah.
You know, you've got, a week to spend, 40, 80 hours putting together an hour-long YouTube video explaining why all this is the truth. It's like,
I could have spent that week doing something else if I really thought I was going over.
Go quit your job. Go take a week and go to Vegas. Show me you're committed to this. Nobody's going to do that. I think deep down, folks really know. And for us as Christian folk, man, it's a pet peeve of mine. I really think we need to be above this kind of worldly superstition and pseudo junk science, and it's just so communicates the wrong message to people, and it pushes them away from, and it ultimately cheapens the supernatural truth of the gospel,
right?
To me, and we live in a world that's so open to the supernatural, right? Teenage vampires and werewolves and the undead, which is really strange because technically, aren't we all undead?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, what's the alternative?
Yeah. We're the walking
Dead.
undead.
Like, it's the undead. I'm like, well, I'm the undead. Mm-hmm. But, when we get into that kind of junk, it pushes people away. And it makes people sound like nuts anyway when you're trying to, if you're going to go out and share the gospel with somebody, or talk about matters of faith. I always say the best resource and the tool that you have, because you're in church with me, is your own testimony, because you know what's happened in your life.
Right.
And how I would suggest that you don't do it is go out and start with a lecture about blood moons.
And sometimes that stuff comes across too, like you're wanting it to happen right now. I mean, all of us want to go to heaven. I mean, all Christians do, but not necessarily right this second. I mean, there's still more stuff to be done here on earth, I think. And some people come across like they're just waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. Jesus, come soon. And I wonder what he thinks when he hears us calling for him to come soon, knowing full well that he's given us instructions and things we're supposed to be working.
Right.
And it almost makes me think of sitting at work, bored watching the clock, waiting for the end of the day. I'm like, I'm excited at the idea of his return, but I would be afraid right now what his level of disappointment might be.
Yeah.
I don't want to, him catch us sleeping.
Plus, there's folks that I really want to be there with me that may not be right now. That I have time to get them there.
Exactly. We got work to be doing instead of watching the clock.
Right.
Yeah. And folks are attracted to that, and there's even a supernatural nature to even but we talked about this a little bit earlier, but in our Christian culture, we want to separate so much, and I'm not at all against Christian films and music, and my favorite band in the world since I was a kid, Stryper. And nobody's asked, but if you're interested, that's who you're hearing bookending our show is Stryper, my favorite band, Christian band, and I full well do not have their permission at all.
So keep it on the down low. Don't tell them.
We're not making any profit off of it or anything. So I don't think there's a use. I think it's a fair usage thing, but that's neither here nor there. So I don't want you to think I'm not down on Christian music or films or books or anything like that. But like when I go into even the bookstores and I'll see like books that look like Twilight or look like Stephen King books, but they're like written by Christian authors that are appealing to that supernatural, seductive kind of thing. That unsettles me a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to preach on it. I'm not going to say it's wrong. I really don't know enough. All I'm saying right now is just I've seen that, and it just unsettles me a little bit. I think it's appealing to the wrong element.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I feel like that if a book like that, like a fiction book, is going to be the thing that draws you into Christ, then maybe you ought to evaluate how you're going. I mean, how deep is your commitment if it's...
Especially not if it's something that's based in the supernatural or scary, right, or... I don't know. I've not read any of them. Maybe I should.
I'm sure there's some good in there, but maybe the good would be better placed somewhere else.
Well, then it immediately makes me suspect of what kind of theology's in there too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. And I was hoping maybe you could help me with something. Mm-hmm. Nathan has recently started playing football, which I know pretty much nothing about. Now, my old man was a referee for Vanderbilt. He refereed football and basketball for years for Vanderbilt University and was really into college sports. I don't ever really remember him watching professional sports at home. And I like baseball. I did grow up with a love of baseball, but football, it was not interesting to me at all. I never really understood it, never cared for it. Well, Nathan started, I guess it's been 2 years ago, he started playing in band. And I have a music degree, so I was excited about that. I'm like, hey, this is something we can share. Mm-hmm. I understand music. I can speak that language.
Right.
And he wanted to, we made him play trumpet, which he's enjoying. Well, that was a good choice instrument because I'm a fan of trumpet, even though I'm not really proficient in it myself. But Miles Davis, Clifford Brown, all those cats.
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah. Chet Baker. But again, that's something where it's like, okay, I can help you with this. I can speak the language. I can football. I kind of told him, and I'm not going to discourage him. I don't particularly care for it, but he's at an age where I don't really want to tell him no. If he wants to try something, I just kind of made it clear. Look, you're kind of on your own on this one. I'm not the dad up there yelling about plays and calls, and I don't understand the calls, so I don't know if it's a good call or a bad call anyway. So I don't know, maybe I'll learn something along the way, but I never got the sports bug for some reason, but I still enjoy watching baseball, and I'm hoping he'll pick up the baseball bug. I've been listening on and on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and apparently there were some developments in the last couple of weeks about Tom Brady and his thing. He was going to be suspended, and then he wasn't, or he was, and then he... What do you know about that? I have some notes on it here on the actual timeline, which I can refer to, but I'd really rather not. If you can kind of hit the high points and
the high points
explain it to me.
They're using the football, and through the rules of the NFL, the football is supposed to be inflated to a certain PSI, and I guess the football for the Patriots wasn't inflated to the proper PSI.
I know I said I want you to tell, but I'll interrupt if I can interrupt with the specs. The official rules of the National Football League require footballs to be inflated to a gauge pressure between 12.5 and 13.5 pounds per square inch. That's PSI when measured by the referees. Go ahead.
Okay. So his weren't inflated to that much. And there's really a little bit of controversy as to whether that would affect anything. I mean, a flat ball wouldn't go as far, I wouldn't think.
Underinflating a football may make it easier to grip, throw, and catch, and may inhibit fumbling, especially in cold and rainy conditions.
See, I think it's really just what you're used to.
I've heard several people commenting on this. Again, I don't know. I've heard several people commenting on this say that it's really an affect, and it's more kind of a, not superstitious, but realistically that it makes such a negligible difference that the one thing I'm seeing is temperature comes into play.
Well, temperature affects the pressure, the outside pressure. A
ball inflated in a warm room taken to a cold field could lose pressure.
Right.
And here's one of the criticisms that I saw, that the NFL rules they specify these measurements, but they don't specify a temperature when they should be measured.
I think what it boils down to is whether Brady knew about it or didn't know about it.
What did he know, and when did he know it?
Right.
Well, the NFL did a 243-page report on it, on the deflate, and everybody's going, well, if you're reading all this and you have all this, why are you asking Randall? And I'll get to it in a minute because I kind of want his opinion on something. Brady suspended 4 games by the NFL for his involvement based on, quote, substantial and credible evidence that Brady knew Patriots employees were deflating footballs and that he failed to cooperate with investigators. That's kind of where it came back to, right? It wasn't me. It was a ball boy that was doing it.
Well, and the only thing he failed to cooperate with, which is something that maybe I wouldn't have done either, he didn't give him his cell phone to go through his texts. And, really, I don't know if I would give somebody my cell phone and let them go through my stuff.
Especially when your wife is Gisele Bündchen.
Yeah, for sure. You don't know what's going to come out after that one.
She's a supermodel, for those that don't know.
She's a supermodel.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I'd know her if I passed her on the street.
I think if you saw her in Rutherford, you'd probably know.
Well, she might stand out, but I wouldn't go, oh my goodness, that's Gisele Bündchen.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I wouldn't know who it is. Brady given permission then later to appeal the suspension. Mm-hmm. The NFL then announced that they upheld the 4-game suspension, citing his destruction of his cell phone as a factor. Because apparently there were supposed to be text messages that he traded with the ball guy or the trainer that they communicated about deflating the balls or something so strange. Mm-hmm. He did so even though he was aware that investigators requested access to text messages. And so, that's pretty well, that'll make you look guilty for sure. Hey, we'd like to look in your cell phone to see. Okay, just a minute. Yeah. Crunch.
What cell phone?
It's like, raiding the house. Flush the dope. So Brady released a statement on his Facebook page criticizing Roger Goodell's decision. Now, he's the NFL commissioner, right? Mm-hmm. He upheld the suspension. So it seemed like it went on for a couple of months or a few months there. He kept challenging the suspension, and the players' union was trying to take up his cause. But finally, earlier this month, I guess this is why it popped back up in the news and why it caught my attention. Mm-hmm. Brady's suspension was overturned by a judge, allowing him then to play in the first 4 games of the 2015 season. And some fantasy football gamblers got very happy very quick. Sure, yeah. I have heard, I don't know much about the fairy tale football, but of course now that's becoming big business. It's the new gambling business too, and folks putting a lot of money on it. And a lot of folks had apparently earlier because you draft in fantasy football, you draft your players like you do in real football, and some of them drafted Brady, and they were like, "Oh no!" right? Because he's not going to play. And then then they overturned this. He gets to play. I have heard from several people who were dancing a jig. They're like, "Yes, Brady's back for my fantasy football." All right, just give me your opinion on this. What's going on here? Is this worthy of? All right. Tom Brady is he a big, lousy, scurrilous cheat? Or is this really much ado about nothing?
I don't think so. I think that just because they went to the Super Bowl is probably why. But I would think that if you were comfortable playing with the ball at a certain pressure as a professional, you should be able to play with it whatever pressure you want to, as long as you're not forcing the other team to play with it at that pressure.
And they don't, right? Because the teams typically bring their own balls, and that's kind of the idea. So you're making the case that who cares?
Well, yeah, like if you play golf, you can pick whatever golf ball you want to play with, whether it's got more spring in the center or whatever. It should be the same way with football, whatever you're accustomed to.
But there are limitations on your clubs and putters, right, though? You can't use certain kinds.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, of course, that kind of circumvents the question, although I think that's valid. That's the kind of thing I wanted to hear from you. But kind of coming back to the question now, whether or not the rules should be, they are.
Right.
And it's this 12.5, 13.5 pounds. And whether or not it legitimately makes a difference, those are the rules. And apparently the violation was made. So again, I kind of come back to this. Is this really a big deal? Is it Goodell and you wouldn't think, you think like Brady and Manning and like all those bunches, those are kind of darlings of this sport anyway. Is this the guy to pick on and go after?
I could see like the guy that did it, like the ball handler maybe getting fired, but I can't see taking Brady out for 4 games for.
And I think that's kind of nasty, man. That some working guy who full well.
Yeah.
He's not doing this on his own. He's like, I'm going to do this, Tom, and you'll like it. And Tom, like Brady's going, well, okay.
We're going to get in trouble.
Full well he's doing it under the direction and instruction of Tom Brady. It's why he destroyed his cell phone. It's why he destroyed 10,000 text messages. And then they hang, I don't know if this is the correct term. I keep saying ball boy. I don't know if that's the correct term. They hang this guy out to dry, at least publicly. You know, Brady's getting the suspension. But I don't know now. You want to start telling me that this working class cat, you know, with the $1 million quarterback and the $1 million supermodel wife and the inflated balls and whatever, that's not cool, man. You're going to hang it on this dude.
You think at any point he could have said, no, I'm not going to do it, and they would have said, okay. You think
the ball handler?
Yeah.
What, you going to tell him no?
Well, I don't know. If it was against the rules and I didn't want to do it, I would say no.
Do you think you would continue to have a job? Have your integrity, right? That kind of thing?
Right.
All right. So again, is Brady, because I hear both sides of it, and I don't know much about him, don't follow sports, don't care. He's successful, and that's great. And and then you're like, the 4-game suspension. It's like, okay, honey, I guess we'll have to live on your $30 million and not mine for 4 games. Does it even hurt him anyway? But he fought, and he fought with the players union for this. And maybe the players union sees some kind of, there's something going on here that made this an important issue. And is it just because of him and his celebrity, or is it like baseball, where there's all kinds of stuff that's written in the rules in baseball that's pretty much, it's formal policy, but informally, I'm more familiar with baseball, stuff that guys do all the time. It's against the rules, but you overlook it. People don't care.
You wonder if this was something that they just didn't think they would get too upset about if you did it that way or whatever.
Well, again, so is this guy, because depending on who you listen to, oh, he's a no good, lousy cheater, and he's, or who cares? It's such not a big deal. Everybody does it. It's a few PSI on the ball. Or
I know on my level of football that a few PSI isn't going to make any difference between how I throw it. But on his, it might make a pretty good difference, how he does that. I don't know.
Well, that goes back to those other conversations I've heard where people are like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a stupid bit of difference at all. So anyway, Bill Cosby got excited at least that Tom Brady was back in the news for a couple of days. So.
Got him out of there.
Right. I had an idea or a thought this week about Cosby, and I debated on whether or not to share it. Because I'll tell you this, if you still are entertained in any way by Cosby, we all kind of know what kind of, I don't even know if I should give him the benefit like I did with Jared and say allegedly, because Cosby himself, at least in these old depositions, admitted to giving women drugs and in some way having an encounter with them, whether it's consensual or not. No, by law, if it's under the influence of drugs, it's not consensual. Either way, there I go. See, I'm trying to be delicate. You're so scared of, I don't want to accuse, but he's pretty much admitted to doing, at least to some degree, what he's accused of. Now, here's the thing, and it doesn't mean that I can't turn on, what was some of his, Bill Cosby himself, and some of those old records, which are still so funny.
Was it Fatherhood? Parenthood, Fatherhood. I think it was Fatherhood. It was hilarious. What it was? Yeah.
I remember himself and the routine with the dentist. You do much fishing? Ooh, that whole thing with the numb lip and all that. Great stuff. And,
even back in like the black and white days, he had some comedy stuff.
Oh, he was so sharp. Yeah. So sharp. And just a brilliant storyteller. Not so much jokes. There was an old saying, and I shouldn't try it because I'm going to get it wrong, how comedians say funny things, but comics say things funny, something like that. And he's one of those guys. He's just a great storyteller and one of those guys you can listen to and all that. Well, anyway, if you're one of those folks, and I don't want to say like you support Cosby, I'm not saying that, but like if you can still sit and watch Nick at Night, do they still have Nick at Night? If you can watch a Cosby Show rerun in syndication, I am about to completely ruin the Cosby Show for you.
Uh-oh.
So if you need to turn off, I hate to tell people to turn us off and not listen to us, but I'm serious. I am about to absolutely forever destroy the Cosby Show for you if you still hold any affinity for that show at all. All right. So you've been warned in 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Right.
Bill Cosby, in these depositions and from what we see now related to these accusations, these women that he drugged and raped, and he did so with these quaaludes, these hypnotic sedative type drugs that really you don't see much anymore. Not as much.
They don't make them anymore.
Do they not make them? Mm-mm. I thought they still. Okay.
No, they stopped making them back in the 80s.
Okay. I just thought they went out of fashion or fact, because you seem like you remember the old TV shows. You'd always in movies from the 70s and 80s, you'd hear people talking about quaaludes,
Ludes or gorilla biscuits.
Okay,
my dad calls them gorilla biscuits.
So he got his drugs allegedly. He got his drugs from a longtime friend, depending on how you define that word, an acquaintance with whom he was very close. I might argue that the cat wasn't really a good friend, but he supplied Cosby with these drugs. Now, the way he was able to do it was because the gentleman was a physician. He was, by trade, a gynecologist. Okay? Longtime friend.
That's a funny word. Why is it always funny when you say that?
Gynecologist?
Yeah, it always makes me laugh. I don't know why.
Longtime friend, gynecologist, physician, supplying Cosby with these drugs. Flash forward to the 90s. Cosby Show. Picture Bill Cosby dancing in the sweater with Theo and my son Theo and the kids and the stuff and the bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Do you remember on that show who was Bill Cosby's character?
He was an OBGYN, wasn't he?
Cliff Huxtable, Dr.
Cliff
Huxtable, and he was an OBGYN.
No, it was Heathcliff, wasn't it?
Heathcliff,
Heathcliff,
they call him Cliff. He was an OBGYN. Sir, I would suggest to you, and I would propose to you, that Bill Cosby, the admitted rapist, serial rapist, fashioned and founded his most popular and well-known character, the father of America, of sitcoms, upon his lifelong friend who provided him the drugs with which he raped the women.
Turns it on its ear.
Is that sinking in?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's kind of sinister.
Well, because you always wondered about that show, why he chose to be an OBGYN doctor. I mean, of all the millions of things he could have been, I mean, you're basically making your own show.
Now, it's just speculation and it's just theory, but I think I just answered it for you. And that's pretty sinister to me.
And his wife was a lawyer to keep him out of jail.
Perhaps. How can you ever watch that show again? I saw a commercial here recently on TV, and I don't even remember what it was for. Maybe an insurance or something, because I think maybe the gecko lizard was talking to the guy or something. But he was running along, and he was doing something, and he dropped in quicksand. And that totally got me thinking. I'm like, all this stuff that you don't see, the tropes, the old TV tropes that you don't see anymore. And I know there's a couple of years difference in our age, so I never know. But do you remember like a period on television where like quicksand was a thing?
Yeah, you know, I grew up and I was like, where's all the quicksand at? Because, you know, you always go through life thinking there's quicksand everywhere.
In every show, Gilligan's Island and all the adventure shows, everybody was always falling in quicksand.
Or the, you know how many times they would go over the stop, drop, and roll when you're in school?
Yeah.
I've never caught on fire. I've never had to use it.
Yeah,
but we went over it like every week when I was in school.
And I wonder if that really works. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I had an experience. It's been a couple of years now, and it wasn't very funny, but I got attacked by a couple of dogs, by a couple of pit bulls that took me down in the street. And fortunately, I got injured, not seriously or anything, or you know, have since recovered. But you know, one of the things that they tell you is don't run. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm sure that maybe it works, maybe it makes sense. You can't let two pit bulls loose on somebody charging at them. I don't know how you can stand there and not run. And there's a part of me that doesn't think that running or not running would have had any effect at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, quicksand and like amnesia. Remember that? Everybody, that was always everybody. You got amnesia.
Had amnesia.
That was a a device.
And when you got hit in the head, you got it, and if you got hit in the head again,
Right.
you get it back.
We thump you behind one ear, and
Yeah.
you lose your memory. But if I hit you with a monkey wrench behind the other ear,
Right.
oh, it magically comes
All
back. It's like
comes
a
back.
switch you could flip on and off. Yeah, I don't. Maybe that one's still used a little. I can't recall, but quicksand, amnesia. There's probably a whole bunch more that I'm thinking of. But yeah, nobody falls in quicksand anymore.
Nope.
But they're in the 70s and 80s, man. Everybody on television movies fell in quicksand. I just saw that on that commercial, and I was like, oh, yeah. I forgot. I don't even know it. I have to.
I think last time I saw it was Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I think he was in quicksand in that for
Oh,
a
well,
minute.
that's fairly recent.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a period piece, though, too, right? So,
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe all the quicksand is dried up. I don't know.
Maybe.
Gilligan's Island, for some reason, I remember. It seemed like they did it a lot on there. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just my memory.
Maybe the island was all quicksand, maybe.
It's just lazy TV tropes. You start to run out of ideas, I guess, eventually. It's like on Three's Company, which I still have great memories of my grandmother in the other room watching that show and laughing out loud hysterically. But like the first season of Three's Company, they were trying to hide a kitten from the Ropers because they weren't supposed to have pets. And then by like the last season, by the end of the show's run, when it should have been dead a long time, they were hiding a puppy from Mr. Furley. It's like, guys, I think we're about done with all that.
Do you know where the expression "jumping the shark" came from?
Yes, I do, but you tell it though.
Okay.
You tell it though, because that is interesting. First, tell everybody what it means.
When a TV show jumps the shark is when it, like, the popularity of it starts to just go down. It stops being relevant. It stops really making sense, pretty much.
It becomes gimmicky,
Right.
or stuntish. You know, a show has done something that's ridiculous just to get people to tune in. And it came from a very specific episode on a very specific show where they did something completely ridiculous. Now, tell them what it was.
It was on Happy Days. The Fonzie was water skiing in his leather jacket, and he jumped a shark with the water skis.
Oh, it was on skis. I was thinking it was on his motorcycle.
No, he was out water skiing in his leather jacket and jeans. And he
wow.
Jumped the shark on in the water.
On his, okay. I'd say I would have thought or would have remembered it being on a motorcycle. But okay, okay, that'll work. With his jacket and his jeans. Didn't at one point, was it? Maybe it was a different show. Didn't he ride his motorcycle around the edge of a building? That may have been another show.
That was
Who
on
did that?
that was on Full House.
Jesse do that?
Jesse did that, yeah. Or he was going to, and then he got talked out of it, I think.
Huh. I have a memory of watching TV and somebody was riding their bike on the edge of
That was on a very special episode.
a very special episode of Full House. Yeah, and that show's gonna have a little resurgence too. It looks like so. Interesting to see the new Full House show and watch the behind the scenes movie or whatever. That was.
I was going to watch that the other day.
That was not good. Nah. You like it, but I didn't glean any. That movie was completely unnecessary. It did.
I did watch
nothing.
the new Fantastic Four the other day.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Well,
it needed about 20 more minutes in it. It would have been an awesome movie.
Yeah, or shaved in the middle and then a little extra action or something spread out.
Which is weird because it's not a very long movie. It's like an hour 20.
No.
So, I mean, they could have added.
No, and that's with reshoots and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's a disaster. Yeah. Well, anyway, Fantastic Four, End of the World. That's it. Not much to leave you with this week. Hopefully, if we all survive this week, that we'll be eating breakfast at McDonald's in very short order.
10:31.
10:31. Give me my McMuffin, right?
As long as they serve it.
Yeah. Okay, well, when we come back, I'll see you guys on the other side of WizardCon, and we'll have a bonus pod coming up here in a week or two with Mom. That promises to be fun, and maybe a story of our mystery celebrity if I decide that I want to spend some time with him. We'll see. But all that coming up the next few weeks are going to be pretty exciting for us. We got a lot of cool stuff happening here. So.
What was the do you remember?
I do, but I'm not going to say it.
Oh, come on.
See, stop. Randall's trying to give away hints at my mystery guest. I know it. I'll tell you when we turn the mics off.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I in all that? So anyway, yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks. Be sure to visit us, facebook.com/theythatbelieve. Give us a like, give us a share, and tell a friend. I'm Pastor Dave. That's Randall the Armor Bearer. We are
They That Believe.